Hi. So I would like to begin with a confession. For the last 20 years, I've been a PowerPoint junkie. And all this while, I used to believe that my slides were works of art, which would delight and enthrall my audiences. Until one fateful day, the day I went sari shopping with my wife. After 2 excruciating hours of going through 1,000 saris, she finally whittled down the choice to 3 saris and asked me which one I liked the best. Like a good, honest, albeit dumb husband, I told her that they all looked the same, and what's more, they were all of the same color. A dark cloud descended on my wife's face. She looked at me squarely in the eye and said, "Sumant, you're a fairly good husband, but you have 0 design sense, and what's more, you're colorblind." That's when an epiphany hit me, that maybe my presentations weren't all that good after all. So I went back and relooked at my slides, and sure enough, every single presentation sucked. I soon realized that this is a problem that many other people have. The problem was that while PowerPoint had a lot of power, it didn't really point you in the right direction in terms of guiding you to create something that your audiences would enjoy. On the contrary, PowerPoint made it very easy to create really bad presentations. Let me show you how. So this is a typical PowerPoint slide. While there are a lot of things wrong with it, the point that I would like to highlight is that PowerPoint forces you to think in terms of bullet points, which means that you end up with slides like this, which have a ton of bullet points that addle your brain. Apparently, the term bullet points was coined because bullets were used to shoot annoying presenters. True story. And then PowerPoint encourages you to put a lot of text down on your slides. The biggest problem with this is that people don't really listen to you when they're reading what you have written down on your slides. This propensity to cram in a lot of content is not limited just to text. You can have slides like this where you have a ton of charts and tables and things like this. I challenge anyone to understand what's written on this slide, and I'm not talking about the language. The other thing PowerPoint expects of you is to choose all the design aspects yourself. So even when you end up having to choose something as simple as your background color and your fonts, there's a good chance that you can end up with a slide like this. Now, even though as my wife sweetly pointed out that I'm colorblind, even I can tell that there is something seriously wrong with this slide. This gem is from the US military. Apparently, the US military uses PowerPoint because they know that even if the Russians actually get hold of their slides, they can't make head or tail out of it. It's another thing that the US military themselves don't know what they have written down in the first place. I won't even comment on this. Jokes apart, PowerPoint is a great tool if you're a skilled user. But the problem is 99% of us are not. What if there was a tool that would let average people like me create great presentations? Well, there was no such tool, so we created it. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sumant, and I would like to introduce you to Deck. Deck is the easiest way to create compelling presentations on any device. Deck is unique in 3 ways. Firstly, Deck helps you create presentations that make you look good. How do we do this? by ensuring that you avoid making the mistake that other tools like PowerPoint encourage you to do at the tool level. So what you're seeing here is the deck interface. For starters, we don't have bullet points. You can still think about your presentation in terms of points, but each thing that you see here as a point is actually an individual slide. For each slide, we limit the amount of text that you can actually use, forcing you to be concise and pithy. For each point, you can add supporting points or just one graphic. We support everything from images, charts, tables, and diagrams. But the most radical way in which we are different from existing presentation apps is that we offer 0 formatting options. So this helps you in 2 ways. Firstly, it helps you from choosing design options that are, shall we say, suboptimal. And secondly, it helps you focus on just telling your story and on your content. Once you've actually crafted your story, you have a grand total of 1 design decision to make. And that is to choose a presentation theme from our inbuilt library. Each theme that you see here is unique and created by a professional designer to ensure that your story is supported with great graphics, animation, and typography. That brings us to the second way in which Deck is unique. Every presentation that you create in Deck will look good, whether you're a designer yourself or not, because Deck does all the heavy lifting of the design aspects and allows you to focus just on telling your story. The third way in which Deck is unique is that Deck is the only presentation app that works on all your devices. In fact, we actually conceived of Deck as a mobile-first product. So why did we go mobile-first? Well, if you look at the history of productivity apps over the last 50 years, every time there has been a change in the user interface model, new classes of productivity apps have emerged. So if you go back to the 60s and 70s, where you interacted with the computer with a text-based interface, you saw apps like WordPerfect and Microsoft Word emerge. In the 80s and 90s, when GUIs became popular, you had apps like PowerPoint and Photoshop. Now we believe that we are in the inflection of at the cusp of another inflection point where a new generation of productivity apps can emerge in the post-PC era with tablets and smartphones. So Deck has been around on the app stores for a few months now, where we have been a top-ranked business app and have had tens of thousands of downloads. The number one request that we have had from our users is to allow them to use Deck on all devices and all their machines. That's why I'm delighted to announce today that starting today, Deck is also available as a browser and a desktop version that you can use on any of your systems. So it's available at deck.in. Please go in and take a look. You can seamlessly switch between your smartphone to your PC to your tablet, and you can blow away your audiences by using Deck. Is there a minute left? Okay. So just to sort of complete my story, my wife thankfully punished me for my earlier peccadillo by not letting me accompany her on her saree shopping anymore. But she was kind enough to let me participate in one more way. She let me pay the bill. So that's why I decided it might be time to raise a small round. So we are actually currently raising a round with Qualcomm, and the co-founders of Hotmail and InMobi participating. So if anybody is interested in that, please contact me. Thanks.